and welcome to Indie Business Radio for Monday, March 10th, 2008. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and you have arrived at the one place where we empower you to enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way. Today's show is sponsored by Moji O Public Relations, assisting you in creating and growing your brand through individualized marketing strategies. Contact us at mojiopr.com. Well, last week there was a story in the New York Times that chronicled the journey of a father and his two golf-playing daughters, ages 12 and 13. And what was so interesting about the article is it really talked about this man and how he is basically setting his children up to succeed as the Venus and Serena Williams of the golf world. Their entire lives apparently revolve around this budding career of his two daughters. They have a website, and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars every week on their golf activities, their lessons, their equipment, entry fees into tournaments, travel, and everything. And it just started me to think about how interesting it was that, of course, as parents, we are the cheerleaders of our children, and we are to encourage them at every turn to be the best they can be. But it also started me to think about just, the things that we can do to help our children be successful in life and how that relates to preparing them for entrepreneurship. And as you know, I'm a firm believer that everyone, whether you have a full-time traditional job or not, needs to have some kind of business of your own. And it looks like those two sisters in the New York Times are well on their way. So I thought I'd like to have a show to talk about this topic, and who better to help us analyze this issue than a marriage and family therapist who's also an author. Her name is Sharon Buchalter, and she's the author of Children Are People Too, Unlocking the 8 Secrets to Family Happiness, a practical parenting guide designed to empower parents to become their child's life coach and mentor. Dr. Sharon will be joining us after our first break, but first I'd like to introduce you to today's Indie co-host. It's Debbie Wright of Screenwriting Kids, and Debbie also recently started a beauty business, and we're going to be asking her a little bit about that. Welcome as the co-host, Debbie. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Debbie, you have an interesting background. You live in California, in the Hollywood area, and you are actually a writer for a television show. Is that right?
That's correct. I actually moved out from New York to L.A. in pursuit of my writing dream. So I picked up my 2 little boys, and we headed out west. And fortunately, I acquired the Disney Writing Fellowship, and that kind of set me on my path to my television writing career, which has been kind of thwarted with the recent writer's strike.
Yeah.
So I'm starting off from ground zero again.
Yeah, but before that, now you've been doing this for how long?
I've been writing for probably 4 to 5 years.
Wow, and you just picked up enough. So what is it like, Debbie, to write for a TV show? Are you just like locked in a room all day trying to come up with great things to tell the characters to say?
You are, actually. And my first experience in the writing room was quite an eye-opener, especially as a single mom. You spend hours in that room. You can be there from anywhere from 10 a.m. in the morning till midnight. And, there's a lot of egos flying around, and as a new kid on the block, you kind of have to learn your place in the room. There's a bit of like a fraternity mentality in the room. It's not for everyone. The hours are long. The work is hard, but it is rewarding because you're doing what you love. But
what shows have you written for, Debbie?
I'm sorry?
What shows have you written for?
I've written for an ABC family show called Lincoln Heights. Mm-hmm. That was actually my first show. Mm-hmm. So now with the strike, I'm waiting to find out what shows are coming back.
Well, Debbie, speaking of the strike, I know for those of you who may not have read a lot about it, of course it was all over the papers, but last year there was a writer's strike which recently ended. And so, Debbie, tell me a little bit about how that writer's strike affected how you organized your household and it generated income.
Well, the strike really inspired me to. I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit, but unfortunately, I'm a bit of a procrastinator. So the strike allowed me no room for procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I launched my Screenwriting Kids workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach kids from ages 9 to 14 how to structure screenplays on their level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not full features. It's like 5 to 10-minute shorts.
Mm-hmm.
But they're learning all the aspects of creating a screenplay.
And so how much credit do you give this strike to you actually starting this business? It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I give full credit to it because, we live in a fickle economy, and I'm also trying to teach my kids to be self-reliant.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really embraced the truth of designing your own life.
Right.
Not just stepping into a career and into a box and, this is what I do, but to really design the life that you want to live.
Wow, what a great example you're setting for them. Did you find that any of your screenwriting colleagues also found ways to say, gee, I guess, I could go back to writing if this strike ever ends, but in the meantime, I need to make some money. Why don't I start my own business?
Well, a lot of writers, they've been working with online companies, just, writing copy for businesses online or setting up blogs. So they have been using their talents to, bring in an income.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's when I really thought, well, what can I do? I enjoy working with children. I've
Mm-hmm.
got kids. I've also taught them how to write, screenplays. So, I just put it all together and got to work.
Wow, and so how are things going? This is what, a couple months old now?
A couple of months old. It's going really well. I mean, kids are trickling in, and what I did was I offered some scholarships to children that, would not really be exposed to programs like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also helping to get the word around about what I'm offering. But, I have 5 kids right now, 3 of which are paying kids. But, these type of things, they grow word of mouth.
And you have 2 of your own children, right? How old are they?
I do. They're 11 and 10.
Now, I would imagine that where you are in Hollywood, there'd be a pretty good demand for this type of service. Is that a good assumption, or am I way off?
No, a lot of parents have been interested. It's just that getting the word out. Advertising is very expensive, and I'm also trying to launch another business. So I haven't put a lot of revenue in the advertising slot.
Mm-hmm.
So once I start putting ads out, I think I'll get more of a return. But right now, I'm just really using word of mouth.
Now, what's your website address for that business?
It's www.screenwritingkids.com.
Now, you have another business, too. Tell us about that one. You really are over your procrastination, I see.
Yeah, totally, because life is short. My other business was another inspiration from my kids, and it's called Good Nature Kids, and I've designed children's deodorant, children's personal care products, which would be children's deodorant powder, soaps, all natural, no chemicals, no fragrance. Mm-hmm. My little boy in the 3rd grade was getting a little musty, and I could not find anything on the market that wouldn't irritate his skin. Mm-hmm. So I did some research, found a couple of websites, put some recipes together, and it totally worked to the point where other moms were asking me for the product. Now, this was quite a few years ago, and I would just, make his own deodorant to the point where I was like, I should really start a business with this. And fortunately, I found Indie Beauty, and that set me on my path, finally.
Abby, I have to ask you, do they get musty at around 3rd grade? Because mine's only 4. He still smells like candy to me.
Oh, you're lucky.
Oh, he's 4, so do I have a couple years left before the musty?
Yeah. Every child's body chemistry is different, because my younger one, he just started smelling a little funky.
Okay.
The older one,
right, well, good. Well, maybe by the time we'll give my kids a couple more years, and maybe it won't even be that long before we can actually start buying some of your Good Nature Kid products. What's your timeline for setting everything up?
Well, my website will be up in May. Products are already set up. Now I'm just waiting for my labels and bottles, and I'll be ready to go.
So come May, you will have Screenwriting Kids, you will have Good Nature Kids, and you'll still be writing for television shows?
Well, what I'm hoping to do is move out of television into just feature writing, where I'm just completely independent. and I don't have to report into a room. That's the kind of life that, I want to live for myself. So I can still have time with my kids.
Yeah, and that sounds like maximum flexibility there.
Definitely.
Wow. So tell us now, what is it that that you have learned in your last 6 or 7 months of having your own businesses and getting everything started? What have you learned that you can pass on to your kids as their primary cheerleaders about how they can be business owners as well?
Well, actually, I've incorporated my kids in every step of this process. Mm-hmm. They've been going through it with me.
And how old, Debbie?
Yes.
How old are they?
11 and 10.
Okay. All right.
And what I'm really trying to instill within them is the fact that you can design your own life. And they're actually helping me to be more organized. So I guess the main thing I'm learning is how to be organized in going after what you want, because I can be kind of like all over the place. Mm-hmm. So I'm teaching them organizational skills, how to plan for your future. And you can do this at any age, whereas, you're not too old to go after what you want, and you're not too young.
Right.
So I'm getting them to focus in on what is it that they want to do, what inspires them, what excites them, and I let them take ownership of their own projects. So they have their own little ideas that they're brewing, and they have businesses that they want to launch as well. Mm-hmm. But right now they're helping Mom prioritize, and then we're going to work on, their business interests.
Wow, and that's, I think, what you're doing is just so wonderful and just so great. I mean, the legacy that you're leaving is not going to end with your kids. It's not even going to end with your grandkids or anybody in your family. It's something that permeates, everything that you and your kids are going to touch. It's going to inspire a lot of people.
So thank you. I appreciate that. And, I just encourage other moms and parents who are starting off their own businesses, get your kids involved. I tell them this is not my business, it's a family business.
Yeah.
And they're never too young to contribute.
That's right. My daughter empties the trash in our office.
There you go.
She'll tell me, where's my dollar? Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because, she doesn't get an allowance for, sweeping the kitchen floor. So she knows she's got to actually work in the business where we can deduct that dollar.
Exactly.
Make that dollar. So it's a really good thing. Now, tell me, Debbie, as a single mom, what are some of the tips that you can offer other single moms who may feel like, I'm doing everything. I'm already wearing all the hats in the family. How can I take on this other hat? How can you encourage people who may feel like it's not possible for me as a single mom to take care of everything and a business, too?
It is hard. I'm not going to say that it's not, but you do need some kind of support base. Okay. First of all, I get my strength. I have a spiritual base. Uh-huh. Without that, I would not be able to do anything.
Okay.
If you don't ascribe to any kind of spirituality, you definitely need a support group of friends, family members. I moved out here, and I had no one.
Right.
So, I really depended on, my faith in God for strength and guidance. Mm-hmm. But I would encourage any single mom not to isolate yourself and to think you do have to do it all on your own. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Mm-hmm. You're going to need it.
Well, I love that you're mentioning both of those things, too. But, so many moms, whether they're single moms or not, they're not askers for help. Why do you think that is? Why do we have such a hard time asking for help?
Because we feel as moms we have to take it all on. And you get to the point where you realize it's just humanly impossible. Mm-hmm. So I guess as the nurturers, I guess we feel that we're not living up to who society says we are as mothers. That we're supposed to be able to, take care of our children in every facet of their lives. So it could be guilt could have something to do with that, or just having that superwoman kind of thing going on internally that you just have to be able to do it all, or I'm less than, what society says I'm supposed to be. You just have to get over that.
Kudos to you, Debbie, for helping to break those kinds of change and stereotypes. And we're going to come back and talk more with Debbie Wright of Screenwriting Kids and Good Nature Kids. This is a busy woman. We're going to talk with her more about how she encourages her children as she also encourages herself to be successful in life and in business. And we are, of course, going to bring in Dr. Sharon Buchalter, who is our expert, marriage and family therapist, and expert on all things having to do with raising kids. This is Indie Business Radio. We'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and we're here today with my guest indie co-host, Debbie Wright, and she's the owner of Screenwriting Kids and also Good Nature Kids. Both of those are brand spanking new businesses, hot off the presses. And before we left, we were talking about the things that Debbie's learning about not only starting a business, but also incorporating her family into it. So, Debbie, tell me some of the responses that you're getting from your kids. I mean, they're old enough now to see that Mommy's doing something different and new. What do they think about all this?
Well, my boys are really excited, and they love the fact that I'm really incorporating them in the business, where they're helping me pick out names and logo designs and products. So it's really inciting within them their own desire to start up their own businesses, and they know that it is possible. So to kind of start from a place of scarcity, which is kind of where we are now, and then I know we're going to grow, to greater things. For them to be involved in that process from the inception, I think it's very important.
And so, something just occurred to me. Now, I have seen a lot of beauty products, fairly newly launched lines designed and catering to young girls. Do you know of any that cater to young boys, like the age of your sons?
Not at all. Mine would be the first. And
are you going to be catering? I mean, is it going to be mainly to boys that you're
actually? No, it's boys and girls.
Okay.
I didn't make it gender specific, but as far
as have a line for boys,
I don't.
Okay.
I purposely didn't want to do that with the type of products that I'm offering. And my market segment is a segment that is being ignored. For personal product care lines, it's usually babies and then adults. The in-between is totally ignored, and there's no such thing as a kid's deodorant on the market.
Oh, okay. So will it be bath and body in a larger sense, or more specifically deodorant?
Right now, probably bath and body, but a limited line, and I'm really focusing on the deodorant.
Oh, okay.
Because kids have no other options except to use the commercial products that are laced with these harmful chemicals that irritate their skin.
Because what's interesting with I have a 4-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, and my daughter she is all about the girliness. And if it smells like peaches or, lemons and flowers, she is just all over it. And so, like, me and her, she and I are putting lotion on in the car, and my poor 4-year-old son's in the backseat going, ew, roll the windows down, so stinky. And so I'm thinking, I don't know of any lines of products for, he has to have soap and bubble bath and all that too, for boys.
Exactly.
So that'll be great. I mean, I hope, I can't wait because, my poor son is just, I come close to him to help him zip up his jacket or something. He's like, ew, you have on lotion. And he won't let me near him. And I have to go wash my hands, and it's really actually kind of cute. I didn't really expect it, but anyway, it's kind of funny. So I'm really interested in following your new businesses as they launch. Debbie, tell us one more time before you go what your website addresses are so we can know how to get in touch with you.
Well, the screenwriting business, that's www.screenwritingkids.com, and Good Nature Kids will be up in May, and it's www.goodnaturekids.com.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining. I know you have to run off to your another business meeting that you have, so I wish you all the best, and we're going to bring Dr. Sharon in a little bit. But thanks for joining, Debbie. Have a great...
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Well, if you guys have any questions about starting a business as a mom, if you have a question about helping your children to be successful and being their coach, I hope you'll give us a call with your questions or comments. The toll-free number is 800-773-0355. We are waiting for Dr. Sharon Freed Buchalter, the author of Children Are People Too, Unlocking the 8 Secrets to Family Happiness, a practical parenting guide designed to empower parents to become their child's life coach and mentor. And, reading about that story in the New York Times last week really got me to thinking about a couple of people, Tiger Woods and also, of course, Venus and Serena Williams. And it started me to thinking about how much flack and heartache their parents have taken over the years because so many people feel that they just push their children so hard and, force them or focus them so specifically into one area that the well-roundedness of their lives was compromised because they were so focused at such an early age on just one thing, in Tiger Woods' case, golf, and in the Williams sisters' case, tennis. And I'd just be really interested to know what you guys thought about that so you can call in your thoughts. And certainly, I guess it's kind of hard to argue with the success that they've had financially and maybe even personally because not only do they have successful professional sports careers, but all three of them have parlayed that into not only endorsements in the sporting arena, but also businesses of their own, designing clothing, doing interior decorating, and in the case of the sisters, and also Tiger Williams, of course, with nonprofit organization that builds schools and other sorts of businesses that he has spun off. So it's really exciting to see that, and it would be fun one day to sit down in a room with their parents and talk about, the challenges that they faced, helping their children excel and not just succeed, but just surpass anything on the charts that had been done before in the areas that they're involved in. So Dr. Sharon is an expert in that area, and she hasn't joined us yet, but she did tell me what she was going to talk about, so I'm just going to go ahead and share that with you. Sharon is a marriage and family therapist, and she's designed several programs to help us teach our children how to set and reach goals. And, of course, she says that there are certain traits that successful people share, and one of those traits is the ability to set and achieve goals. And, of course, everybody is not really good at that. Debbie just talked with us a little bit about how she used to be a procrastinator, but that's all in the past. But she certainly is setting a good example for her children. And Dr. Sharon Freed Buchalter is going to join us and give her perspective on that. Dr. Sharon, welcome to the show. We're really excited to have you. And Dr. Sharon Freed Buchalter, the author of Children Are People Too. We just had Debbie, of course, you were listening to her sharing about how she's not only sort of reigniting and reinventing herself, but showing her children that they can sort of design the kind of life that they want. So, you write about this, you talk about this. What are some of the challenges that parents face in today's society, Dr. Sharon, getting their children off to a right start and being cheerleaders without pushing them so hard that they just wear them out?
Well, that's an excellent question, and I get that question quite often. It's kind of like, give the analogy between a bird that has a nest, and they're getting ready for the child to be born, and then when the baby bird is born, the baby bird is taught how to eat and sleep and shelter And the next step, which is crucial, they're taught how to fly, and the parent lets them soar into the air and reach for their own dreams, so to say. And it's a perfect way to look at how a parent should be. A parent is somebody that really is a coach and a guide that shows you the way, but doesn't do it for you. It allows the child to really be active and a participant in their own life plan.
So, Dr. Sharon, it makes me think of a term I've heard recently called helicopter parenting.
Oh, yes. I've actually spoken about that on the radio before. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that, or would you want me to expand on that?
Well, yeah, because what you're saying is essentially don't be a helicopter parent, but some people may not have heard that term before.
Well, basically what that means, that's basically a parent that hovers over their child. You often find, even in college campuses, they now have specific people that work with the parents because they don't allow their children to negotiate for themselves or make decisions on the college campus. That they actually have hired people to deal with the parents that don't allow their children to just be on the campus. They're intricately involved. Maybe it's because of technology, with the constantly up on the email, the phone. It wasn't like this 10, 15 years ago. We didn't have helicopter parenting. We had overprotective parenting. Now we have this term because they can actually be hovering over their child, and it goes into adulthood. And carries over.
And it handicaps them, especially if in a world where entrepreneurship is from at least indie business perspective, what we're all here about at this radio show is really helping people to have a business of their own and take that initiative and be that proactive, because the economy is basically showing us that we need to.
That's right. Just today we talked about there was 63,000 jobs lost in the United States. So this is a crucial matter, and I think that the first thing you must do is you must teach your child from the time they're young. After you're feeding them, sheltering them, you're not doing any great gift to your child by doing something for them. It's the idea of teach them how to fish, and they'll eat for the rest of their life, but fish for them, and they'll have one meal. So with that in mind, we can go about teaching our children by also setting a very good example, being a role model, explaining. I have two children myself. I have a teenager and I have a toddler. So I always am faced with this challenge of, I work a great deal from my home office, and I am an entrepreneur. So even today I had a challenge. My little one happens to be home, so she wants to know why I'm on the computer, why I'm doing my work, and why am I not playing? So you have to be able to, even at a young age, for a 4-year-old, they have to understand as much as they can that, mommy and daddy work because we buy things for them, we provide for them, and show them that we can have a special time together, but after mommy finishes work, after daddy finishes work, so that they understand that they're an important part of your life, but there are boundaries. And
now, let me ask you this, Dr. Sharon, because I love what you just shared. You are spot on for the questions that I have, because you not only are a trained professional therapist and an author, but you are living what we're talking about.
Oh, I know that. That's why I was laughing when I read your notes. I'm living it today. Because I was waiting for my babysitter, and I had to, jump through a couple of hoops, but I did it, and I was proud of myself. But I think that sometimes it can be very overwhelming for parents.
Yeah. Tell me this: why is it so difficult for parents to do what? And I'm not talking about the entrepreneurship thing now, but just sort of. Teaching them to fish instead of fishing for them. Why do we have so much trouble doing that?
Well, I think we live the baby boom society as much as we like to think of ourselves as, entrepreneurs and people that are way beyond our own parents. The sad thing about it is that some people look at their children as narcissistic extensions of themselves, and what I mean by that is that if their child doesn't succeed, it's a reflection on them. And as a result, they will work very, very hard to make sure that child succeeds at any price for the child, meaning tutoring them to stay in gifted classes, Making decisions where there could be decision-making on the part of the child, because it's easier. It's easier to say, you're doing this, as opposed to, how do you think we can solve this together?
Yeah.
And inviting them to be part of, say, goal setting, and teaching them that at a very young age.
And I love the questions, the topics that your book and your writing talks about in terms of setting goals, and we're going to get into those right after we come back from our next break.
I'm looking forward to it.
Radio, we'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning their new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. We're here with Dr. Sharon Buchalter, and she is an author, and she is also a family and marriage therapist. She is also the mother of 2 kids, one who's a teenager and one who's a toddler. So she's not only talking with us about motivating our children, but she's also working her own business and managing to do all these things herself. So, Dr. Sharon, I want to ask you some questions about your suggestions, your philosophy for families in terms of teaching children about goals and setting goals at a young age.
Well, the very specific thing about goals is that it does require planning. Sometimes a goal, people think of it as an end result, but we really need to organize ourselves and plan what our goals are going to be. And it helps to uncover a clear path for success, whether it's with yourself or your child. And something like a statement of, I want to get a good job, or I want to do well in school, is a little bit too global. We want to narrow it down and teach children from an early age about choices. I mean, as they get into 7, 8 years old, they could even work with you in coming up with goals.
Okay.
But before that, you want to give choices. So something like, would you want to have carrots or would you want to have peas? Not making an option of not having vegetables, but giving 2 choices that are something that's reasonable for you. To a 4 or 5-year-old, you're starting to get them in the mode of decision-making so that they start to feel good about who they are and that they can make decisions too. And as they get a little older, for instance, the example I gave earlier about I want to get a better grade, what do you do to take that goal and put it into a measurable, small baby steps in order to complete it? The first thing you would do is that you select from an option. So, for instance, your child may say, I'm not doing well in English. You say to them, well, what can we do as a team? How can I help you, and what can you do yourself to bring that up? And allow your child to come up with some options.
Right, okay.
They can do it. We usually don't allow them to do it. We'll say, you have to study 2 more hours a night. The reason you want to recruit them to come up with the answer is because they are more likely to do it and cooperate if they're involved in the goal setting.
And don't they also, Dr. Sharon, have a certain different kind of level of accountability?
Absolutely.
They made the suggestion.
Because there is more accountability, and you know what? You also are increasing your child's self-esteem because you're showing them that you trust them, that they can come up with some solutions, and it's not just mommy and daddy telling them what to do. They'll feel better. They'll become more of an entrepreneur themselves because they'll learn from an early age how to make decisions, how to be part of the decision-making, and how to include their own employees in the decision-making as they learned in their own family.
And Dr. Sharon, in following up on that connection between these kinds of activities and entrepreneurship, so many times I talk with people, and Debbie, who was the guest co-host earlier today, might have been one of them if I had met her last year, just really sort of know instinctively, I want to have a business of my own, need to have a business of my own, but there's something, whatever it may be, that's kind of causing that procrastination, as she put it, to set in. And I know nothing is 100% foolproof, but the method that you're describing, does it also train our children to, when they get into a situation where maybe they hate their job, which so many people do, statistics show these days, instead of just complaining about it, that they feel proactive, like they can do something about it?
Well, that's exactly in my pyramid of success, which is in Children Are People too, Unlocking the 8 Secrets to Family Happiness. I come up with a plan where not only do you plan, organize, set your goals, you also learn these 8 secrets that if you manage them in your life, you're going to be successful. But the next step is monitoring your goals once they're put into action. So, for instance, you're not happy in your job, you can come up with an idea like getting trained for a new job, getting your resume ready, going to a headhunter, come up with specific goals because you're trained with the idea of setting goals, but you also can come up with new goals as your life changes, as your circumstances change, so you're not just a victim of the circumstances. You are proactive. You are somebody that you can be given the guide and the map, but you also have to be the one we all do, to take the action. And, we talk about the law of attraction, but I'm really about the law of attraction taken to the next step, which is put into action.
The law of action.
Yes, the law of action, exactly. Yeah. And without goals, without a clear-cut idea, instead of being a victim and saying, woe is me, I'm in a bad job, make a plan. Set a plan, whether it be taking an extra course to learn a little bit more in your particular industry so you can get a better job, whether it's training at the same time that you're in your position for a new type of career, whether it's reading up on something, whatever it may be, getting your resume ready, write it down, and we're more likely, 95% of the time when we write our goals, we're more likely to obtain them than if we just have them in our heads. And people don't realize that. But if you take a piece of paper and write down 6 things that we want to achieve in 6 months from now, and you put it away, chances are if you wrote down exactly what things you were going to do to make that goal come true, you will have done it already and wish you had written more.
Dr. Sharon, something else occurred to me, too, as you were talking. Your advice is just absolutely timeless and so right on because...
Thank you.
And it really is, and it makes me think about the several newspaper articles that I've read recently and magazine articles about kids who go to college and come back home.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like there's no discussion about whether you're going to come back home, are you going to go to grad school, do financial circumstances requirement. It's just like they just come home.
Right, and they assume that that's okay.
Yeah, and there's I know, young kids, it's a tough economy and all that stuff, but there doesn't seem to be, statistically anyway, from what I'm reading, much of parenting going on where people sit down and say, why are you coming home? What can we do to keep you from coming home? And I would like to share this personal example. When I was going through a really tough time many years ago as a younger person, I went home and sat down with my parents and talked about the financial stresses and whatever, woe is me kind of problems I was having, and I wanted to come back home. And my mother pulled out her checkbook, and she said, I want to help you, but you cannot move back in this house because your bedroom is now my craft room, and you can't come home. And I remember, feeling, gee, all my other friends are coming home, and they can't pay their bills. And I just wanted to mention that to you because here we are all these years later, and I feel like my mom did me such a good...
She gave you a gift.
Yeah.
She gave you a gift. Because she made you do it on your own.
Yeah, I was forced to go out there and figure it out. Now, I didn't have kids at the time, and that might have made a difference for the kids' sake. But she said, here, what do you need, a security deposit for a new apartment? Here, Here, I'll write you a check for a little money.
So she gave you the foundation, but she made you build it.
Yep, she did.
And that's why you are where you are today, as opposed to many of those people that went back to the situation and they didn't come up with ways they could move out because it was too easy.
Right.
Because the mother and the father maybe allowed them to, they were helicopter parents that just said, oh, it's natural, because this is what we're setting up with society. We're setting up people dependency.
Different. There's some, there's illness and other sorts of things that happen, which
that's a different story.
But I'm talking, and I wanted to make that clear because, every family situation and dynamic is different. But in my situation, I was fully able-bodied. Nothing was wrong with me, and, I was just feeling sorry for myself. And I was broke, too, which was no minor problem.
But she was willing to help you. She was
and
willing
I
to
just
set a
love what
foundation.
you're saying, because as a mother of young children right now, I see these kinds of principles and the opportunity to instill them in them so that if one day they get fired or they're in a tough job market, they can apply some of the principles that I learned from your book about helping them be specific about goals and making lists. And it's second nature to them to say, okay, I'm in a bad situation, what am I going to do about it?
Exactly. They have to master the art of problem solving and dealing with conflict. They can't be saying, I'm in a conflict, I'm in a situation, and, again, I call it the victimizer, the person who complains all the time but does nothing about it. If you train them effectively, and you can learn this even in the chapter, I have a whole chapter on communication skills, you can motivate your children to take action, build cooperation, and maintain focus on the issues with specific goals, and provide accurate information sticking to what it is they need to do in order to get out of their situation or to move into another situation or to make their situation better. But when we do things for them, we're not doing them a favor. And not everyone has the ability to write that check for their child. And even if they sat down and said, okay, what can we do together to help, whether it's if the child's there temporarily until they can build up some money and the parent can write a check, maybe they have to get a job. They can't just live off of mommy and daddy. Mm-hmm. It's like the movie Failure to Launch, I don't know. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, and one of the things in your steps, too, is to get help. And Debbie and I were talking about this, as you know, a little bit before the break, is that why are so many people, reluctant to ask for help? And one of your things that you point out in teaching your children how to set goals is that they need to ask for help.
That's so true. And if they don't, you need to also bring it up. To say, honey, it seems like you're struggling with this. Let's talk about it. What can we do about it? Mm-hmm. And even an adult child that comes home from college, if they're struggling because they maybe majored in history, for instance, and there aren't many jobs as historian, but maybe they can be a teacher of history, and they have to go back and take some courses. Well, maybe you can brainstorm with them, like to help them. It's okay, even if they're adults, to be there again as a coach, as a life coach on their cheering team, but don't do it for them. Let them do it and learn, but you can also be there as a guide. That's a very important point, and within boundaries, okay, because, if someone's there a year and a half down the road and they're still making, minimum wage at McDonald's, well, then you need to have another talk, find out what went wrong, and, where you need to move to another level so that you can support yourself.
And you also talk about the importance of being flexible, which obviously as an entrepreneur you absolutely must be. How do you help your children do that? Because so often they get frustrated when they set a goal and it doesn't come to fruition, because they don't have a lot of experience in life. They, get so frustrated with that. How can you help them through that and learn the importance of flexibility?
Well, I actually my new book, which is New Parents Are People Too, and it's really for any parent that goes through a transition from going from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, has a whole chapter on flexibility and the importance of it. And I think that the most important thing in order to be flexible is to realize that, goals are not set in stone. If somebody realizes that they're not meant to be a high school teacher and yet they're in that position, maybe they can go on and take courses in another profession, and that it's okay it's not considered a failure. Don't beat yourself up. Long-term goals need to be flexible, and even short-term goals. it's important to be specific about what you want to achieve and what you want to include in the flexibility plan. In other words, don't use flexibility as a way to procrastinate, like, I'm flexible, therefore if it's not working out, I'll just go with the flow.
Right.
No. Flexibility has a planned outcome as well. Flexibility means that if something didn't work out, well, then come up with another plan. But there is a plan. And that's an important point to realize that they weren't a failure in what they did. Every experience is an opportunity for growth that we have in life. I believe that wholeheartedly, and I've seen it with thousands of people. You know, at the moment you're going through it, it seems like, wow, I can't believe it. But you know what? It makes us stronger and makes us learn. I have a marketing background. I use marketing as a psychologist every single day in my work. Could I say I was a failure because I was a marketing major and I didn't know if I wanted to be a psychologist back then? Absolutely not. Was I flexible enough to do industrial psychology and then branch into clinical psychology? Yes. So, and that it's priceless to be having that foundation in marketing.
Right.
So it's all how you see it.
And I love what you mentioned about that word failure came up there too. Is that so many people. So many kids grow up thinking that a failure is an end in and of itself, and they just
that is so true. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, so because of what you just said.
No, but you know what happens? They go back into I call it the turtle shell. They kind of take the head and they go back and they withdraw, and that's a good reason for them to get depressed or get sad. We all. Look, I'm not putting down people that have clinical depression, but sometimes circumstances can also put somebody into a depression.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story, and I would love to.
We could do a whole show on that one, but we need to pull out of the show.
Well, it is a whole different show, and darn it, we can't do it right now. But
I know that.
Mentioned it because it does play a role, and there are both of those things sometimes working. I think because sometimes if you have clinical depression, it can be used as an excuse to just make things worse by not doing anything about it.
That's right. It's a spiral. And so if you find that you're feeling like you're a failure, nobody is a failure. You may have failed opportunities,
right.
But you're not a failure. And failures also build success.
Right.
Because
well,
if we do everything right, we
that's
never
a
learn.
Wonderful way to end the point, Dr. Sharon. Failures can lead to great success. Tell us a little bit, Dr. Sharon, about how we can get in touch with you, your website, and your book, and how we can see you speak.
Okay, well, my website is people2, TOOunlimited.com.
Okay.
And also I have a column called Ask Dr. Sharon. It's a local column in Boca Raton, Florida, but you can definitely write some questions out, and your response, if you give me your email, I will write directly to you as well. You can get both my books, Children Are People Too, Unlocking the 8 Secrets to Family Happiness, and New Parents Are People Too, Surviving Parenthood Individually and as a Couple, on Amazon, and as well as my website, People Too Unlimited. I am speaking locally here in the Florida area. I have just recently been on Montel Williams' show, and I will post on my website any speaking engagements that I have. And I also have my own radio show as well, WBZT, and you can tune in on www.WBZT every morning on 12:30. It will be on at 8:30 and 7:30. It's 12:30 on the dial for those of you that are Floridians, which you guys aren't, but you can get it on the website.
We do have some Florida listeners, but everybody...
You do? Okay, they can get it.
Well, and everybody can go to people2, TOOunlimited.com. Thank you, Dr. Sharon, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to being on again.
Thanks. I hope you'll join me this Thursday night, March 13th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern for Blogging for Business, my free group coaching session for Indie Beauty Network members. We're covering blogging, what it is, what it isn't, how to set one up, and if you were there last week, you know you have some homework. Indie Business Radio is sponsored by Indie Business Media. There are over 100 of my radio shows archived for stream or download at indiebusinessradio.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Join the discussion at Indie Business Blog. I'll see you next week for another show. In the meantime, enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.